Because I know that mountains can be moved, mental thoughts are tools, homes should be schools. I can rest better. And I know a hope is a wish, ignorance is bliss, logic will persist. I won't let stress matter. So all actions have reasons, time has seasons, a pledge has allegiance, information is gathered. I can now grow courage like a lion, less fear of dying, more strength than crying. No, I will not shatter. For if I show love for my brother, awe for my mother, faith in my struggle, my plate will be fatter. And it matters. Because first you know, then you grow, and then you show. First you know, then you grow, then you show. Mountains can be moved, mental thoughts are tools, homes should be schools. I can rest better. A hope is a wish, ignorance is bliss, logic will persist. I won't let stress matter. Actions have reason, time has seasons, a pledge has allegiance, information is gathered. So now, I can grow courage like a lion, have less fear of dying, and more strength than crying. No, I will not shatter. For if I show love for my brother, awe for my mother, faith in my struggle, my plate will be fatter. And it matters. Because first you know, then you grow, then you show. Well, all right, Yahsinni is in the house. And today, I found something powerful. So powerful that my throat chakra is already with me not to do it. They said, don't try to read that to them tonight. So I'll just clear my throat and overrule it because I am in charge. I am the authority on me over myself and over myself. And so I said, I want to read it. And so I've already shared the screen. Oh, I give you the name. It's from the Urantia book. I know. Go look it up. And what I want to read is, boom. There you go, right there. You see it? What about now? Yep. Paper 53, the Lucifer Rebellion. Lucifer was a brilliant primary Lananodec son of Nebadon. Okay, he had experienced service in many systems, had been a high counselor of his group, and was distinguished for wisdom, sagacity, and efficiency. Lucifer was number 37 of his order, and when commissioned by the Melchizedeks, he was designated as one of 100 most able and brilliant personalities and more than 700,000 of his kind. From such a magnificent beginning through evil and error, he embraced sin and is numbered as one of three system sovereigns in Nebuchadnezzar who have succumbed to the urge of self and surrendered to the sophistry of spurious personal liberty, rejection of universe allegiance, and disregard of fraternal obligations, blindness to cosmic relationships. In the universe of Nebuchadnezzar, the domain of Christ Michael, there are 10,000 systems of inhabited worlds. In all the history of Nadek sons and all their work throughout these thousands of systems and at the universe headquarters, only three system sovereigns have ever been found in contempt of the government of the Creator's Son. So, one, the leaders of the rebellion. Lucifer was not an ascendant being. He was created son of the local universe. And of him, it was said, you were perfect in all your ways from the day you were created till unrighteousness was found in you. So many times he had been in council with the Most Highs of Edentia, which is Eden, I'm assuming. And Lucifer reigned upon the holy mountain of God, the administrative mount of Jerusalem, for he was the chief executive of a great system of 607 inhabited worlds. Y'all pay attention to these numbers. Lucifer was a magnificent being, a brilliant personality. He stood next to the Most High Fathers of the constellations in the direct line of universe authority. Notwithstanding Lucifer's transgression, subordinate intelligences refrained from showing him disrespect and disdain prior to Michael's bestowal on Urantia. So even the archangel of Michael at the time of Moses' resurrection did not bring against him an accusing judgment, but simply said, the judge rebuke you. Judgment in such matters belongs to the ancients of days, the rulers of the super universe. Lucifer is now the fallen and deposed sovereign of Satania. Self-contemplation is most disastrous, even to the exalted personalities of the celestial world. O Lucifer, it was said, your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom because of your brightness. Your olden prophet saw his sad estate when he wrote, how are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cast down, you who dared to confuse the worlds? Very little was heard of Lucifer in Urantia, owing to the fact that he assigned his first lieutenant, Satan, to advocate his cause on your planet. Satan was a member of the same primary group of Lananadeks, but had never functioned as a system sovereign. He entered fully into the Lucifer insurrection. The devil is none other than Caligastia. It sounds like polygamy from Caesar, Caligulus from Caesar. Anyway, Caligula, the deposed planetary prince of Urantia and a son of the secondary order of the Lananadex. At the time, Michael was on Urantia in the flesh. Lucifer, Satan, and Caligula were leagued together to effect the miscarriage of his bestowed mission. But they signally failed. So Abaddon was the chief to the staff of Caligula. He followed his master into rebellion and has ever since acted as chief executive of the Urantia rebels. Beelzebub was the leader of the disloyal midway creatures who allied themselves with the forces of the traitorous Caligula. The dragon eventually became the symbolic representation of all these evil personages. Upon the triumph of Michael, Gabriel came down from Salvington and bound the dragon, all the rebel leaders, for an age. So of the Jerusalem seraphic rebels, it is written, quote, and the angels who kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he has reserved in sure chains of darkness to the judgment of the great day, end quote. 2. The causes of rebellion. Lucifer and his first assistant, Satan, had reigned on Jerusalem for more than 500,000 years when in the hearts they began to array themselves against the universal Father and his then vicegerent son, Michael. There were no particular or special conditions in the system of Satania which suggested or favored rebellion. It is our belief that the idea took origin and form in Lucifer's mind, and that he might have instigated such a rebellion no matter where he might have been stationed. So Lucifer first announced his plans to Satan, but it required several months to corrupt the mind of his able and brilliant associate. However, when once converted to the rebel theories, he became a bold and earnest advocate of self-assertion and liberty. No one ever suggested rebellion to Lucifer. The ideal of self-assertion in opposition to the will of Michael and to the plans of the universal Father as they are represented in Michael had its origin in his own mind. His relations with the Creator's Son had been intimate and always cordial. At no time prior to the exaltation of his own mind did Lucifer openly express dissatisfaction about the universe administration. Notwithstanding his silence, for more than 100 years of standard time, the union of days on Salvington had been reflectivating to Uversa that all was not at peace in Lucifer's mind. This information was also communicated to the Creator's Son and the constellation fathers of Nurlatchedek. So throughout this period, Lucifer became increasingly critical of the entire plan of the universe administration, but always professed wholeheartedly loyalty to the supreme rulers. His first outspoken disloyalty was manifested on the occasion of a visit of Gabriel to Jerusalem just a few days before the open proclamation of the Lucifer Declaration of Liberty. Gabriel was so profoundly impressed with the certainty of the impending outbreak that he went direct to Urantia to confer with the constellation fathers regarding the measures to be employed in case of open rebellion. It is difficult to point out the exact cause or causes which finally culminated in the Lucifer rebellion. We are certain of only one thing, and that is whatever these first beings were, they had their origin in Lucifer's mind. There must have been a pride of self that nourished itself to the point of self-deception, so that Lucifer, for a time, really persuaded himself that his contemplation of rebellion was actually for the good of the system, if not of the universe. So by the time his plans had developed to the point of disillusionment, no doubt he had gone too far for his original and mischief-making pride to permit him to stop. At some point in this experience, he became insecure, and evil evolved into deliberate and willful sin. That this happened is proved by the subsequent conduct of his brilliant executive. He was long offered opportunity for repentance, but only some of his subordinates ever accepted the proffered mercy. The faithful of days of Urantia, on the request of the Constellation Fathers, in person, presented the plan of Michael for the saving of these flagrant rebels, but always was the mercy of the Creator's Son rejected and rejected with increasing contempt and disdain. 3. The Lucifer Manifesto. Whatever the early origins of trouble in the hearts of Lucifer and Satan, the final outbreak took form as the Lucifer Declaration of Liberty. The cause of the rebels was stated under three heads. The first head, the reality of the Universal Father. Lucifer charged that the Universal Father did not really exist, that physical gravity and space energy were inherent in the universe, and that the Father was a myth invented by the Paradise Sons to enable them to maintain the rule of the universes in the Father's name. He denied that personality was a gift of the Universal Father. He even intimidated that the finaliters were in collusion with the Paradise Sons to foist fraud upon all creation, since they never brought back a very clear-cut idea of the Father's actual personality as it is discernible on Paradise. He traded on reverence. He traded on reverence as ignorance. The charge was sweeping, terrible, and blasphemous. It was this veiled attack upon the finaliters that no doubt influenced the ascended citizens then on Jerusalem to stand firm and remain steadfast in resistance to all the rebels' proposals. 2. The universe government of the Creator's Son, Michael. So Lucifer contended that the local systems should be autonomous. He protested against the right of Michael, the Creator's Son, to assume sovereignty on Abaddon in the name of the hypothetical paradise father and require all personalities to acknowledge allegiance to this unseen father. He asserted that the whole plan of worship was a clever scheme to aggrandize the paradise sons. He was willing to acknowledge Michael as his creator father, but not as his God and rightful ruler. Most bitterly did he attack the right of the ancients of days, quote, foreign potentates to interfere in the affairs of the local system and universities. These rulers he denounced as tyrants and usurpers. He exhorted his followers to believe that none of these rulers could do aught to interfere, to do aught to interfere with the operation of complete home rule if men and angels only had the courage to assert themselves and boldly claim their rights. He contended that the executioners of the Ancients of Days could be debarred from functioning in the local systems if the native beings will only assert their independence. He maintained that immortality was inherent in the system personalities, that resurrection was natural and automatic, and that all beings would live eternally except for the arbitrary and unjust acts of the executioners of the ancients of days. Three, the attack upon the universal plan of ascended mortal training. Lucifer maintained that far too much time and energy were expended upon the scheme of so thoroughly training ascended mortals in the principles of universe administration, principles which he alleged were unethical and unsound. He protested against the age long program for preparing the mortals of space for some unknown destiny and pointed to the presence of the fanatical corpse on Jerusalem as proof that these mortals had spent ages of preparation for some destiny of pure fiction. With derision, he pointed out that the fanatics had encountered a destiny no more glorious than to be returned to humble spheres similar to those of their origin. He intimidated that they had been debauched by overmuch discipline and prolonged training, and that they were in reality traitors to their mortal fellows, since they were now co opting with the scheme of enslaving all creation to the fictions of the mythical eternal destiny for ascended mortals. He advocated that ascenders should enjoy the liberty of individual self determination. He challenged and condemned the entire plan of mortal ascension as sponsored by the paradise sons of God and supported by the infinite spirit. And it is with such a declaration of liberty that Lucifer launched his orgy of darkness and death. Okay? You are understanding that Lucifer is not Satan. And here's the outbreak of the rebellion, number 4. The Lucifer Manifesto was issued at the annual conclave of Satania on the Sea of Glass in the presence of the assembled host of Jerusalem on the last day of the year, about 200,000 years ago, Urantia time. Satan proclaimed that worship could be accorded the universal forces. physical, intellectual, and spiritual, but that allegiance could be acknowledged only to the actual and present ruler, Lucifer, the friend of men and angels and the God of liberty. Self assertion was the battle cry of the Lucifer rebellion. One of his chief arguments was that if self government was good and right for the Melchizedeks and other groups, it was equally good for all orders of intelligence. He was bold and persistent in the advocacy of the equality of mind and the brotherhood of intelligence. He maintained that all government should be limited to the local planets and their voluntary confederation into the local systems. All other supervision he disallowed. He promised the planetary princes that they should rule the worlds as supreme executives. He denounced the location of legislative activities on the constellation headquarters and the conduct of judicial affairs on the universal capital. He contended that all these functions of government should be concentrated on the system capitals and proceeded to set up his own legislative assembly and organize his own tribunals under the jurisdiction of Satan. And he directed that the princes on the apostate worlds do the same. The entire administrative cabinet of Lucifer went over in a body and were sworn in publicity as the officers of the administration of the new head of the liberated worlds and systems. So while there had been two previous rebellions in Nabadon, they were in distant constellations. Lucifer held that these insurrections were unsuccessful because the majority of the intelligence failed to follow their leaders. He continued that majorities rule, that mind is infallible. So the freedom allowed him by the universe rulers apparently sustained many of his nefarious contentions. He defied all his superiors, yet they apparently took no note of his doing. He was given a free hand to prosecute his seductive plan without let or hindrance. All the merciful delays of Justice Lucifer pointed to as evidence of the inability of the government, excuse me, as the inability of the government of the Paradise Sons to stop the rebellion. He would openly defy and arrogantly challenge Michael, Emmanuel, and the Ancients of Days, and then point to the fact that no action ensued as positive evidence of the impotency of the universe and the super universe governments. Gabriel was personally present throughout all these disloyal proceedings and only announced that he would, in due time, speak for Michael, and that all beings will be left free and unmolested in their choice, that the government of the sons for the Father desired only that loyalty and devotion which was voluntarily, wholehearted, and, and sophistry proof. And this sophistry, you can see the word Soph or Sophia in there, meaning wise. Okay. So Lucifer was permitted fully to establish and thoroughly to organize his rebel government before Gabriel made any effort to contest the right of secession or to counterwork the rebel propaganda. But the Constellation Fathers immediately confined the action of these disloyal personalities to the system of Satania. Nevertheless, this period of delay was a time of great trial and testing to the loyal beings of all Satania. Always chaotic for a few years, and there was great confusion on the mansion worlds. Number 5, conflict, nature of conflict. Upon the breakout of the Satania rebellion, Michael took counsel of his paradise brother Emmanuel. Following this momentous conference, Michael announced that he would pursue the same policy which had characterized his dealings with similar upheavals in the past, an attitude um, of non-interference. Okay, so at the time of this rebellion and the two which preceded it, there was no absolute and personal sovereign authority in the universe of Nebuchadnezzar. Michael ruled by divine right as vicegerent of the universal Father, but not yet in his own personal right. He had not completed his bestowal career. He had not yet been vested with all power in heaven and on earth. Okay. From the outbreak of rebellion to this day, his enthronement as sovereign ruler of Nebuchadnezzar, Michael never interfered with the rebel forces of Lucifer. They were always they were allowed to run a free course for almost 200,000 years of Urantia time. Christ Michael now has ample power and authority to deal promptly, even summarily, with such outbreaks of disloyalty. But we doubt that this sovereign authority would lead him to act differently if another such upheaval should occur. So, since Michael elected to remain aloof from the actual warfare of the Lucifer rebellion, Gabriel called his personal staff together on Edensha and in the council with the Most Highs, elected to assume command of the loyal host of Satania. Michael remained on Salvington while Gabriel proceeded to Jerusalem and establishing himself on the sphere dedicated to the Father, the same universal Father whose personality Lucifer and Satan had questioned in the presence of the foregathered host of loyal personalities. He displayed the manner of Michael, the material emblem of the Trinity government of all creation, the three azure blue concentric circles on the white background. The Lucifer emblem was a banner of white with one red circle in the center of which a black solid circle appeared. There was war in heaven. Michael's commander and his angels fought against the dragon, Lucifer, Satan, and the apostate princes. And the dragon and his rebellious angels fought, but prevailed not. This war in heaven was not a physical battle, as such a conflict might be conceived on Urantia. In the early days of the struggle, Lucifer held forth continuously in the planetary amphitheater. Gabriel conducted an unceasing exposure of the rebel sophistries from its headquarters, taken up near at hand. So the various personalities present on the sphere who were in doubt as to their attitude would journey back and forth between these discussions until they arrived at a final decision. But this war in heaven was very terrible and very real, while displaying none on the barbarities, barbarities so characteristic of physical warfare on the immature worlds. This conflict was more deadly. Material life is in jeopardy and um, in material combat. But the war in heaven was fought in terms of life eternal. Number 6, the loyal Sephiric commander. There were many noble and inspiring acts of devotion and loyalty which were performed by numerous personalities during the interim between the outbreak of hostilities and the arrival of the new system ruler and his staff. But the most thrilling of all of these daring feats of devotion was the courageous conduct of Menosha, the second in command of the Satania headquarters, Seraphim. So at the outbreak of rebellion of Jerusalem, the head of the Sephiric host joined the Lucifer cause. This no doubt explains why such a large number of the fourth order, the system administrator Sephirah, went astray. The Sephiric leader was spiritually blinded by the brilliant personality of Lucifer. His charming ways fascinated the lower orders of celestial beings. They simply could not comprehend that it was possible for such a dazzling personality to go wrong. Not long since, in describing the experiences associated with the onset of the Lucifer rebellion, Menosha said, "But my host, exhilarating moment was the thrilling adventure connected with the Lucifer rebellion when, as second Sephiric commander, I refused to participate in the projected insult to Michael, and the powerful rebels sought my destruction by means of the liaison forces they had arranged. There was a tremendous upheaval on Jerusalem, but not a single loyal Sephirim was harmed. Upon the default of my immediate superior, it devolved, it devolved upon me to assume command of the angelic host of the Jerusalem as the titular director of the confused seraphic affairs of the system. I was morally upheld by the Melchizedeks, ably assisted by the majority of the material sons, deserted by a tremendous group of my own order, but magnificently supported by the ascended mortals on Jerusalem. Having been automatically thrown out of the constellation circuits by the secession of Lucifer, we were dependent on the loyalty of our intelligence corps, who forwarded calls to help to Edentia from the nearby system of Ranchulia, and we found that the kingdom of order, the intellect of loyalty, and the spirit of truth were inherently triumphant over rebellion, self assertion, and so called personal liberty. We were able to carry on until the arrival of the new system sovereign, the worthy successor of Lucifer. And immediately thereafter, I was assigned to the corpse of the Melchizedek receivership of Urantia, assuming jurisdiction over the lawyers' seraphic orders on the world of the traitorous Caligasha, who had proclaimed his sphere a member of the newly projected system of liberated worlds and emancipated personalities proposed in the infamous Declaration of Liberty issued by Lucifer in his call to the liberty loving, free thinking, and forward looking intelligence of the misruled and maladministered worlds of Satania. This angel is still in service on Urantia, functioning as associate chief of seraphim. 7. History of the rebellion. And I hope this is the last part. The Lucifer rebellion was system-wide. 37 succeeding planetary princes swung their world administrations largely to the side of the arch rebel. Only Pinocchio did the planetary prince fail to carry his people with him. On this world, under the guidance of the Melchizedek, the people rallied to support Michael. Eleanor, a young woman of that mortal realm, grasped the leadership of the human races, and not a single soul on that strife-torn world enlisted under the Lucifer banner. And ever since have these loyal panoptions served on the 7th Jerusalem transition world as the caretakers and builders on the Father's sphere and its surrounding 7 detention worlds. So the panoptions not only act as literal custodians of these worlds, but they also execute the personal orders of Michael for the embellishment of these spheres for some future and unknown use. They do this work as they tarry en route to Urantia. Throughout this period, Caligasta was advocating the cause of Lucifer on Urantia. The Melchizedeks aptly opposed the opposite planetary prince, but the sophistries of unbridled liberty and the delusions of self-assertion had every opportunity for deceiving the primitive people of a young and undeveloped world. All succession propaganda had to be carried by on a personal effort because the broadcast service and all other avenues of interplanetary communication were suspended by the action of the system circuit supervisors. Upon the actual outbreak of the insurrection, the entire system of Satania was isolated in both the constellation and the universe circuits. So during this time, all incoming and outgoing messages were dispatched by seraphic agents and solitary messengers. The circuits to the fallen world were also cut off so that Lucifer could not utilize this avenue for furtherance of his nefarious scheme. And these circuits will not be restored so long as the arch rebel lives within the confines of Satania. This was a Lananadek rebellion. The higher orders of local universe sonship did not join the Lucifer succession, although a few of the life carriers stationed on the rebel planet were somewhat influenced by the rebellion of the disloyal princes. None of the trinitized sons went astray. The Melchizedek's archangels and the brilliant evening stars were all loyal to Michael and, with Gabriel, violently contended for the Father's will and the Son's rule. No beings of paradise origin were involved in disloyalty. Together with the solitary messengers, they took up headquarters on the world of the spirit and remained under the leadership of the faithful of the faithful days and remained under leadership of the faithful of days of detention. None of the conciliators apostatized or apostatized, nor did a single one of the celestial recorders go astray. But a heavy toll was taken of the Urantia companions, and the mansion world teachers. Of the supreme order of the seraphim, not an angel was lost, but a considerable group of the next order, the superior, were deceived and ensnarled. Likewise, a few of the third or supervisor order of angels were misled, but the terrible breakdown came in the fourth group, the administrator angels, those seraphim who are normally assigned to the duties of the system capitals. Menocius saved almost two-thirds of them, but slightly over one-third followed their chief into the rebel ranks. One-third of all the Jerusalem cherubim attached to the administrative angels were lost with their disloyal seraphim. Of the planetary angelic helpers, those assigned to the material sons, about one-third were deceived, and almost 10% of the transition ministers were ensnarled. In symbol, John saw this when he wrote of the great red dragon, saying, quote, and his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and cast them down in darkness, end quote. The greatest loss occurred in the angelic ranks, but most of the lower orders of intelligence were involved in disloyalty. So of the 681,217 material sons lost in Satania, 95% were casualties of the Lucifer rebellion. Large numbers of midway creatures were lost on those individual planets whose planetary princes joined the Lucifer cause. In many respects, this rebellion was the most widespread and disastrous of all occurrences in Nebuchadnezzar. More personalities were involved in this insurrection than in both of the others. And it is to their everlasting dishonor that the emissaries of Lucifer and Satan spared not the infant training schools on the finality cultural planet, but rather sought to corrupt these developing minds and mercy salvaged from the evolutionary worlds. The ascending mortals were vulnerable, but they withstood the sophistries of rebellion better than the lower spirits, while many of the lower mentioned worlds, those who had not attained final fusion with their adjusters, failed. It is recorded to the glory of the wisdom of the ascension scheme that not a single member of the Satania ascended citizenship resident on Jerusalem participated in the Lucifer rebellion. Hour by hour and day by day, the broadcast stations of all Nebuchadnezzar were thronged by the anxious watchers of every imaginable class of celestial intelligence, who intently pursued the bulletins of the Satania rebellion and rejoiced as the reports continuously narrated the upswerving loyalty of the ascended mortals who, under their Melchizedek leader, successfully withstood and combined and protracted efforts of all the subtle evil forces which so swiftly gathered around the banners of succession and sin. It was over 2 years of system time from the beginning of the war in heaven until the installation of Lucifer's successor. But at last the new sovereign came, landing on the sea of glass with his staff. I was among the reserves mobilized on Edentia by Gabriel, and I well remember the first message of Lanafort to the constellation father of Norlatia, nor latch your deck. It read, quote, not a single Jerusalem citizen was lost. Every ascended mortal survived the fiery trial and emerged from the crucial test triumphant and altogether victorious, end quote. And on to Salvanta, Uversa, and Paradise went this message of assurance that the survival experience of mortal ascension is the greatest security against rebellion and the surest safeguard against sin. This noble Jerusalem band of faithful mortals numbered just 187,432,811. So, with the arrival of Landforge and the Ark rebels were dethroned and and shorn of all governing powers, they were permitted freely to go about Jerusalem, the Urantia spheres, and even to the individual inhabited worlds. They continued their deceptive and seductive efforts to confuse and mislead the minds of men and angels. But as concerned their work on the administrative mount of Jerusalem, their place was found no more. So while Lucifer was deprived of all administrative authority in Satania, there then existed no local universe power nor tribunal which could detain or destroy this, this wicked rebel. So at that time, Michael was not a sovereign ruler. The Ancients of Days sustained the Constellation Fathers in their seizure of the system government, but they had never they have never handed down any subsequent decisions in the many appeals still pending with regard to the present status and future disposition of Lucifer, Satan, and their associates. These were the arch these were the arch rebels allowed to roam the entire system to seek further penetration for their doctrines of discontent and self-assertion. But in almost 200,000 Urantia years, they have been unable to deceive another world. No Satania worlds have been lost since the fall of 37. Not even those younger worlds people said since the day of rebellion. Okay, so the Son of Man on Urantia. And since this is 8, I'm gonna see if this is the final. Nope. Present status of the rebellion. Huh. I don't want to read these. Yeah, look at that. Look at 8. Look at 8. Let me think about it. No, no. Read it yourself. Read it your damn self. I probably ain't even talking to nobody now. If you did go along with all that I've read and you're here with me right now, I'm sorry. But I really don't believe there's that many people that's here with me right now. Because believe it or not, we always say that our people don't like to read. I don't think they want to be read to either. I think they just don't want no fucking information. The people who are bright enough to have saw this title or heard the name of this book and know what's what and wanted to support me and came here, they didn't do it for the reading. They did it for the support for a person who will be bold enough or who knows enough to go get the Urantia book and read it. So they don't care. They don't care what I just read. They're not the ones. They don't care that I stopped reading. I don't believe anybody cares that I stopped reading and said no. I don't think there's not one person that said, "Yeah, keep reading," and that's why I said no. And if you really, really wanted to know um, what else was going on, then you would get your ass on Google, type in the Urantia. Just type in URAN and let it pull up the Bible or the book. Go to the first one, and you can actually download the PDF like I just did. Or you can just read it online. It doesn't cost anything. The people who are giving out the good stuff don't ever charge. You think you have to pay to read the Emerald tablets? No. You can download it, you can have it. The real good stuff that we should be, spotting as gems, those are free. Yeah, gems are free. Diamonds should be free, but some motherfucker tricked y'all into believing that they was very rare. And now, look how much a diamond costs. Yeah, you stupid as hell for paying for that diamond. Diamonds are like the most abundant fucking jewels on the planet. They're free. But anyway, I like reading. I like letting my throat chakra deliver stories and truths and parables in the same manner that the powers that be love writing allegories and parables and stories and making movies and films about not just true things, but that things that you're better off knowing, things that can go with the other things in your head and come up with a hell fuck puzzle piece. Okay, that's what you should be doing. Even you who are derelict in duty, you don't have to stay that way. You can right now reverse that by just doing the shit that you're supposed to be doing, learning the shit that you're supposed to be learning. Should no days ever go by where you're not in learning mode. Okay? And you can have fun while learning. Just because you're learning don't mean you're boring or you're stuck up. You're actually the opposite of that. You actually can have more conversations with all different kinds of people. You can level them up as soon as you meet them just by saying hi to a motherfucker. I've already got you summed up. I can ask you one question to tell me where your head is at. I can ask you one question to see if you're a Christian or not. I can then speak to you on whatever your level is. But you can't do me like that because the level's just going to keep rising and keep rising and keep rising until you're going to have to say, "Are you a witch?" Uh, no, bitch, but maybe your mama is. I'm tripping because that happened to me at the hotel. I was I was selling. I took my jewelry with me through my recent unfortunate event that happened in my life, which I didn't come on here and tell you about because I didn't want y'all praying for me. But anyway, I'm at this hotel. I got nothing but time, so I go. I say, okay, I'm gonna have a drink, and I took my jewelry with me just in case. And lo and behold, this couple showed up with their baby, and it's not a real bar. It's just like a little hotel that happens to have a bar that actually has alcohol and stays open till midnight. So I'm sitting there with my jewelry, and since the couple, they was real talkative and they was flashing money, and the woman didn't have on no jewelry, and so I pleaded to the guy because he had on a necklace at least. I pulled out some of my best pieces that I had in my purse and I showed it to him. And right away, their eyes all lit up because the one of them that I pulled out was an unk. It was a blue unk that I had made, and the guy like was attracted to it right away. He like wow. And the girl didn't know what that was. Like, what is that, Christian? And said, oh, okay, okay, okay. Let me show her some of the other stuff, like some of my moon necklaces or whatever. And then, so as I was conversing with our guy, um, his language, he talking to me. You're gonna, if you just let me talk freely, then you're gonna hear a lot of stuff that you never heard before. That's just the way it is. And so, as we were talking, the girl gonna ask me, um, "Do I know what black magic is?" I said, "Black magic? Yeah. I mean, I know what it is, but like, why?" And she was like, "Do you know any?" I said, "Do I know black magic? No, 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 no black magic. Um, like, why would you think that I know black magic?" And she said, "Well, just listening to you talk, you're naming a lot of stuff that, you know, like, I had a thought necklace. I had the Ankh, and we talked about the Ankhs and Egyptology and other Egyptian gods. All of this is a no-no in front of Christians. We were scared the fuck out of them. And so this is what's happening. So I'm having a conversation with this lady who thinks I'm a fucking witch because I had some necklaces that were geared towards Egypt. And so I had to explain to her that, well, the jury, oh, I know what set her off. I showed her man a picture of my Anubis necklace, which I thought was gorgeous, and Anubis is damn near obscured only to the eyes, the trained eye. Can you tell the significance of what this piece is? Because it's in glass. I like to put my shit in glass. Where's Anubis? And and that's when and he asked me who was Anubis. I said the god of the underworld. That's what set her off, and she told me that that's what set her off. So sorry, you can't think about the word underworld or the sand. What about the movie, the series that they put on TV? You couldn't watch it. You can't have anything to do with anybody who says the word underworld, Anubis. We we can't. I had to stop right now because I really want the customers and I want the money to pay for my drink. And it's a hotel, so you know they're expensive and shit. So I was able to get him, or he did it on his own. He wanted 3 necklaces, one for his girl, which she ended up switching like 3 times. They loved my shit, and most people do. When you get my jewelry in your hand, it does not look like the picture. It's alive and breathing. These are diamonds and stones, pearls, and they're made with love. So there's extra energy in them, and your eyes will light up. I swear to God, if you're just looking at my website, you go to Simply Stone, and you looking at my jewelry. It, if some do pop out at you, then that's good. But because in reality, whatever you purchase through my website, when you get it, I guarantee you, you're gonna go when you see it. It's breathtaking. I know it is. Anyway, um, I got called a witch because I wanted to serve everybody. I don't want to just have no whole bunch of crosses carrying around, dead man's crosses and shit all the goddamn time. No, I want to have a whole bunch of shit. I had some Noble Drew Ali necklaces, and the glass I'm talking about, because that's getting ready to be my specialty. It's gonna be. I just ordered a bag of them today from Etsy. This. I'll put any picture in here and design it. This is called Gold Chaos. It's actually these beads in here move. But anyway, I'll design it. You see how it's I'll design it and I'll hang it. I usually try to match up the colors with the necklace part. But anyway, so I'm a witch. In my mind, in my non-Christian mind, I'm thinking, if I'm a witch, your mama's a witch, bitch. But I didn't say it because I wanted her man's money, which I got. And then he turned around and tried to sell me some street weed, fentanyl on it, probably. Anyway, so I bought the weed. Okay, so so that's your reading for today, and I threw you in a little something something, and I'm hoping that you'll go to. If you're still here, be blissful. Don't be blessed. I don't want you to be less. I want you to be blissful. Be blissful and peaceful and wholeness, love, and light. And go to my channel. Go to my website, YahsinniUniversity.com. Take a look around in the Simply Stone Jewelry Store. Go roam around Taz Studio Productions. Look at the products that he got in there for sale. Take a look at his T-shirts, his herbal products. It's got some of his PowerPoints in there that you can purchase. There's lots of stuff to look at. And the addition of Salima Ellis is already at Yahsinni University. Keep checking in on that. I'm always under construction because I'm constantly growing and building. But come on, take a look at it. Support us, donate to us, write us and let us know that you feel us, or we'll be gone. Yeah. If you don't pay no attention to us, then we won't pay no attention to you. So come on now, be generous and understand that we are working. Yeah, we works. So that's all I have to say about this reading. Maybe next time I can give you like the fullness of the chapter or the verse. If you don't know about the Urantia book, the reason why I didn't expand on it, because I either want you to go look it up yourself, or I'm gonna wait for the real preachers and teachers of this book to notify you, and they're coming soon. Trust me. And Yahsinni in the house, the Taz and Yahsinni show, and I'm gonna send you over to my brother, the Minister of Information, because we're gonna get this thing going. We're gonna get this thing going right. It's out of sight. Yep. So peace and love to all who sat here for this reading. Peace and love who got what was truly important about this video out of it. Okay. Now, see you around.